Top story, whether you're looking at Fox News or whether you're looking at Fox Business or whether you're looking at MSNBC or CNN or my social media feed, Stormy Daniels took the stand again in the Trump trial. And look, it's salacious, it's sensational, it's sexy. But don't be so dismissive, because I have a strong suspicion that this is not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. Dunham Biles with the Biles Wilson Law Firm here in Dallas, joining the James Show for a little more legal depth and expertise. So did we learn anything from the Stormy Daniels trial? Because I've heard a lot of people say this was all just for show, but certainly somebody got something out of this, Dunham.
Well, it was for show, unfortunately, but I think Trump actually got quite a bit. I think Stormy shouldn't have ever been on the stand and certainly shouldn't have been allowed to say some of the things that she did. But at the end of the day, what she did make very clear is that she hates Trump, that she fantasizes about Trump being in jail, and that she owes Trump $500,000 approximately, I think it is, from a judgment against her, and she won't pay it no matter what a court orders her to do, and she'll go to jail. Now, that is not the testimony from people who are usually believed.
Well, give her points for being honest, at least in this instance. That sounds like honesty that doesn't work in her favor. Do you think he can still be found guilty?
You never know with the jury, and with this judge and some of the rulings he's made, it seems like it's a little bit of a stacked deck. But I would hope that eventually it comes out the correct way, which is, it doesn't appear to me there's any crime even involved in this, much less a felony. So one would hope that if he is found guilty, the appellate court would correct the wrong.
Is this one of the situations where it has to be a unanimous jury, so just one person dissenting can save his butt?
I'm not a New York lawyer, but I assume the answer is yes. In fact, for guilty, you're going to have a unanimous jury. Really?
Because I don't know the differences, because I'm not a lawyer, but I've observed that in some trials a majority is enough to convict, and other ones it has to be unanimous. And I think that if it's unanimous, he has a pretty good chance of getting off on it. But if it's just a majority, there's no way he's going to survive a New York jury of his peers.
Well, the good news on that is in no court that I know of is a majority sufficient. And in civil cases, for example, you could have sometimes a 10-2 verdict depending on the place you are. It depends on the state that you're in and what their rules are. But I'm going to guess that it's going to have to be unanimous in New York on a criminal matter.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, civil, I guess, is where you get some of the wiggle room there, because that's what he needs.
You get a little more leeway, because at most we're taking away money. We're not taking away liberty. So
what's next, Dunham? What happens next in this trial? Is there a few more witnesses, or are we about to wrap this thing up?
They predicted this would go 6 weeks or so. I don't know where we stand with them, but obviously they have not yet gotten to Michael Cohen, which is it's an odd case when your star witness is Michael Cohen, but they haven't gotten there yet.
That's where we're at. All right, so whenever the gavel hits, if he is found guilty, is he going to go to prison right away, or is it going to be delayed pending appeal? And how long does this appeals process take? Like, what happens after the trial?
Well, one, you'd have to have a guilty verdict, and then you'd have to have sentencing, which doesn't necessarily mean you'd have a prison term. So we'd have to see how that works out. So we don't yet know. We'll have to wait and see how that process lands up. But I can't imagine that they land up sending him directly to prison. Certainly not until an appeal's done. But you don't know.
Well, because things would get really saucy if he gets put in cuffs and taken to prison before Election Day.
Yeah, and one has to wonder, some of these cases and the processes being used, whether you're talking about a Georgia case or somewhere where somehow the government is arguing they have rights, which is not the way our system works. We have individual rights, and they want a speedy trial. They rush these trials and attempt to get them before the election.
Yeah.
And so one has to wonder about the processes and practices that may be employed and why they may be employed in this particular case, because they're treating this one very differently than any other one.
All right, another jurisprudence basics for my lawyer guest here. So if he's found guilty, it's not necessarily over. There's an appeals process. If he's found innocent, is this put to bed, or is there something else the state can do to keep it going?
If the jury finds him not guilty, that's the end.
Okay. Dunn and Biles from the Biles Wilson Law Firm here in Dallas. Thanks for being on the James Show and helping out.
Thank you, sir.
It's a lot easier than going to law school myself for a few years. I can just ask a lawyer. Makes it so much easier. All right. This is the James Show. Any comments on that? 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. You're listening to News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM.